Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Terraform. My name is Tia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through Terraform Console Part 3, which means we have Part 1, Part 2 already so far, and I will make sure that I put Part 1, Part 2 links in the description of this video, so that if you want to go ahead and check what happened there, you are more than welcome to do so. What is Terraform Console? Terraform Console is just a little tool that allows us to evaluate Terraform expression, right? Sometimes some expression might be a little bit complicated, and if you're still a beginner, you need to know how to evaluate those to avoid some runtime errors, right? When you trigger it before Terraform starts saying that, hey, this is not good, and you start now to struggle and figure out you start struggling a little bit, right? Because you want to fix it. But if you know how to evaluate stuff through the console, and also just for learning purpose, you can evaluate those expressions and see exactly what those expressions are. If I click here, it's going to take me to my GitHub repository, and I'll also make sure that I put a link to the GitHub repository in the description of this video, so that if you want to go ahead and follow exactly what I will be doing here, you can go ahead and do so. And this GitHub, this is a public repository. That means you can clone it and you can do whatever you want to do with. Now, here we have this example here, and I will make sure that I kind of navigate into I will navigate to my local machine here, and I'll open this one in VS Code, right? And this one is really useful. I remember myself back in the day when I was still learning Terraform, and when I actually get into the field, this was like it was really complicated for me, to be honest, because I didn't really understand, and I did not even know how to evaluate all these expressions, right? And I'm going to show you guys basically what is happening here. Now, let me go to my local. Here, I've cloned this repository, and so far, I've navigated where this little folder here, the same folder that you guys can see here on GitHub, and it is called Terraform Console. I kind of open this one already here in my local machine, and we are going into format. And if you click here, the only thing that we have here, it is just a variable file. And within this variable file, we create a variable type any. When we say variable type any, what does that mean? That means basically that this can go ahead and take all type of variable, right? It can take the map variable, it can take a string variable, it can take a list variable, it can take everything that you want. And that's why we name that type any. Now, what do we have here in the README file? Before opening the README file, I will go ahead and do this. I'll open this one here, a new integrated terminal, so that I will be ready to evaluate all those expressions. Let me go ahead and just open this one, a new integrated terminal. And it is going to open here with the absolute path. If you say pwd, as you guys can see, that is the absolute path, and I am ready. Let me also type Terraform console to move to Terraform console command line, so that I will be ready to run some little command here. Now, I'm going to open this one also, the README file. In the README file here, we have a couple of expressions that we want to evaluate. And let me click on this one and open this one to the side. And I'll go ahead and minimize this. Let us start with the first expression. What does this mean? Now, sometime when you want to create a resource in AWS, let's say you want to give a specific name, right? And you want a user to just make some modification just on this variable, and it will take care, everything will be taken care behind the scene. And the user is not even aware of what is going on behind the scene. For instance, I want to create a VPC in AWS, and that VPC is going to have 3 public subnets and also 3 private subnets. And I want my subnet to be what? I want to name my subnet, for instance, that my subnet will have maybe the ID, let's say a team have a specific ID. Within some organization, they might assign an ID to a team. And when we see this ID in AWS, we will know exactly that this resource belongs to this team, to the alpha team. That means let's say we have multiple teams, like the alpha team, the beta team, the theta team, and so on. We might assign, some company might assign a specific ID to those teams. And when we see a resource in AWS that basically match this ID, we know that that will be for alpha team, this will be for theta team, and so on, right? Now, we can have an ID that each resource we are going to attach an ID, and also each resource that we are going to create will also make sure that we have the environment as a name, and also we have the project name. And here, our project here, we call our project here a Dell project, and here the environment, we call this one that is a dev environment, and we say the team here ID is maybe 2560. And how am I going to do now to create all my resources and make sure that those resources have all these particular stuff here, like the environment, the project, and the ID. And I want that on all my resources, every single resource. Now, this is a little bit a challenge, right? But if you follow what I'm going to do here, that will be really, really simple. When you want to create a resource, let's say you want to create your private subnet, you can go ahead and name your private subnet, but use something in Terraform called format. When you use format, we can use something called a %s, %s, and let's say this will be my private subnet one. What happens here is that %s 3 times basically require 3 values here. If you put %s just once, it requires you to have 1 value. If you put %s twice, it requires you to have 2 value right here. Otherwise, it is going to fail. I have var.id, I have var.tag and ID, var.tag environment, var.tag project, and that is why you guys can see %s, %s, %s3 require. You must have 3 elements here. If not, it is not going to work. And that is why. If you remove 1% here, I need to remove either 1 here so that it will remain just 2 after the comma. After this. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Now, let's say here, what will be the name of my private subnet if I use this? Let us go ahead and kind of copy this expression, and we're trying to evaluate this and see the name. If I paste it here and hit enter, as you guys can see here, it basically took var.tag.id, which is 2526. Next, we say add also var.tag.environment. Whatever environment a user is going to punch here, it is going to grab it, which is dev. Let's say this environment was development, it is going to take development. Let's say this environment was production, it's going to take production. Here, what is the project name? It basically grabbed the project name here, and it appended private subnet 1. And when the user will deploy, he will go to AWS and just see everything private subnet 1, private subnet 2, private subnet 3, and he doesn't really know what is going on behind the scene. You are the DevOps guy, you know exactly what is going on behind the scene. You are the engineer, right? And you know exactly what you put behind the scene. And you want to make user, the person that is going to use this, it might be somebody that doesn't know Terraform, right? But at some point you want him to run Terraform to do something. That means when you write your code, you need to kind of call them and train them. Hey, if you want to run Terraform, let's say you want to do this, you want to create something for the dev environment, you just need to change all this value, you change this, and you go ahead and fire up Terraform. And they don't really understand the actual code, right? Same thing with Jenkins. You pass parameters, you give that to a developer, and you say, hey, when you want to develop your code, come here, punch this value, punch this. When he punch everything, he does not know what is going on behind the scene, because you have a massive Jenkins file behind the scene that will take all those value and get the job done, right? Make user experience really easy so that they will not stress on anything as an engineer. Now, let me go ahead here. If you evaluate this, so copy everything and paste it here through the console. As you guys can see here, if you hit enter, the same thing. As you guys can see, this will be the way that I'm going to name all my subnet. This will be the first subnet, the second subnet, and the third subnet, right? Which is pretty neat when you see it in AWS. Pretty neat. As soon as I open this, I will know that this one is for the dev VPC. This one belongs to this team, and this is a private subnet 1, private subnet 2, or private subnet 3, right? And if you want to do the public subnet, the same thing apply. I am not going to explain no more. I'll just copy all this expression. I am going to evaluate that through the console, and you guys will see the output. If you paste all this and hit enter, as you guys can see, everything really nice and neat. Now, we evaluated the public and also the private subnet. Let's see if we still have something else. About context.tag. Okay, let's see. We want also to deal with something here, and we kind of want to get something in the tag. Now, that's what we did so far. Let's see if there's something new, and I will go ahead and explain. Okay. Down here, it's just basically the same thing. There is no, I didn't add anything new though. Private subnet 1, private subnet 2, I just duplicate all this. And this one, basically, it is for the second example. Here, we have var.tag or var.context. Okay, let me see var.context. We're using var.tag. The first one example, basically, it is for this right here. And another example, basically, it is for the var.context, and we are going to .tag, and we're getting some elements. Okay, I get it now. The first example, basically, what we have done here, it is using this, because as you guys can see, every single time we're using the var.tag. The second example, it is using this any variable here, right? And what are we getting in here? In here, we set this to be context. When we say var, first of all, we say that var.context and the tag. That means we are heading over to here and we want to grab something. Same thing, if we say var.context and you say .eks ID, it is going to get this ID. If you say var.context and you go ahead here and put cluster version, you will get this element here, right? And that is why here we have just var.context and we have var.context.tag to hit this one. And in here, what are we checking? We want to get the ID, which is just this first element here, and that's it, right? And we can also do that for the public subnet and also the private subnet. And I can just copy one and run, and you guys will see that it was still going to give us the same result. And I can go and try the rest. You can just go ahead and try the rest on your own. We still have the same result. As you guys can see, we'll have the same result. Why? Because here we just set up a simple tag here, and this simple tag here, we call it a map up string. We have a map and a key value pair. The values are what? The values here are called string. And in this little example here, we use just a map. We didn't just specify anything, but we just say the type should be any. When we specify variable type any, it means that we can have a string variable. We can also have a map variable. We can also have a list variable. We can have a tuple variable. We can have a Boolean variable. We can have a number variable, and so on. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that when we publish a new video, you'll be notified. And also, please follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and so on. Bye-bye.